Hello and welcome back to the Girl Fit Method podcast. On today's podcast episode, I am joined by relationship expert Jake Maddock. Is that how I pronounce your last name?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, good. Awesome. How are you? Welcome.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, buddy. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. So I discovered you through TikTok, I believe. So as my listeners would know, I am single, and so my algorithm tends to be feeding me a whole lot of dating and relationship advice. Some great, some not so great. But the content you put out is really, really cool. And um I get a lot of girls asking me questions around dating, and I'm like, listen, I can try to give you the best advice, but I'm no expert. So I thought, let's get someone in that knows what they're talking about. So I'd love for you to be able to give us a little bit of an elevator pitch. I know that you help people get a 10 out of 10 relationship, which I think is what we all want. But how did you end up in this position as a relationship coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of funny. You never know where life's going to take you sometimes. So 10 years ago, I was in the army, actually. So I've done lots of different jobs over the years, but my whole 20s, I was terrible with relationships, absolutely hopeless. I remember saying to myself in my 20s, I'm like, I'm never going to achieve a good relationship. I don't think it's for me. I'm hopeless, right? And then after time, I'm like, I want to be good at this. I want a good relationship. Why can't I have a 10 out of 10 too? So I started learning, reading books, studying under mentors, all different things. And then I achieved it myself and then started helping other people. And then before you know it, I've coached thousands of people all over the world.
Amazing. It's so interesting that, like, we go through this progression in life where we go from being a kid and the relationship, the first relationship that we see is the relationship between our parents and actually I guess, our relationship with our parents as well. And that does form a lot of what we see as what a relationship should be, whether that be healthy or not so healthy. And then as you get older, you start actually dating for yourself and meeting people, you realize that they have this completely different idea of what a relationship should look like. And then you've got two people that are coming together from completely different worlds. And most of the time, I would say, especially as we first begin dating, it's an absolute nightmare because we don't know ourselves. We actually don't know what a healthy relationship is. And then along the way, I think that's how people get a lot of we get hurt and then we can hold grudges and then we can bring that baggage into new relationships. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, unless we stop and reflect and figure out and take accountability for our own behavior and figure out what a healthy relationship actually is and what we need to look for, but also what we need to change, you just end up in this really horrible cycle and really not getting, well, not a 10 out of 10 relationship, that's for sure. Um, do you see a lot of that? And does a lot of the situations and I guess like issues that people have in relationships, do you see it stemming from those early years?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a good question. One of the first things I focus on with everybody is I make them a 10 out of 10 within who they are first. So a lot of people get stuck in this recurring type negative pattern, and it's stemming from usually, so a lot of girls come to me and they sort of fit into a few categories. A lot of girls come to me and they're what I call nice guys. Okay. They're just too nice. They date down. They're not they're not really nice, but they appear as nice guys. So they date a lot of losers. Oh, he's okay. He's unemployed at the moment, but you know, he'll get a job one day. Just they're too nice. Okay. Then other girls, they hold on to negative trauma type states for long periods of time and feel like they're really broken and hurt and injured and just they act like wounded animals. They're not really, but they hold on to it really strongly.
Mm.
But what I do is I got to make them a 10 out of 10 first. So we spend a lot of time on confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, spend a lot of time getting rid of overthinking, self-sabotaging fears and insecurities. When we do that, then they can actually get someone decent in, a high value guy who also has a good mindset. And if we start with that mindset, everything else just falls into place pretty easy.
I love that because you attract the energy that you put out there, and you also attract the level of partner that you're at as well. And sometimes we're not even really aware of that energy that we're putting out. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine. We're talking about another girl who's kind of like an acquaintance of us, and she seems to get into these relationships with these guys that are just absolute drop kicks, have like nothing going for them. And she is such a gorgeous girl, like inside and out. And we're like, why on earth does she attract these guys? And we were out one night and I noticed that when I was with her, it was almost like guys that were just bad news were attracted to her and would approach her. And they weren't approaching any of us. And I thought, isn't that interesting? It really goes to show that without us actually being sometimes aware of our energy, we put off. We put off what we want to attract without even kind of knowing it. And I guess you only become aware of that once you're aware of your shortcomings and what you really need to work on, and getting to a place where you become at peace with yourself and you know who you
The
are.
best way to fix this is to remember my saying, it doesn't matter what you attract, it only matters what you allow. Okay?
Mm,
If you remember that sentence, if a girl tells herself that sentence, it doesn't matter what I attract, it only matters what I allow, then simply by doing that, what she attracts changes because it puts out a different energy to go, doesn't matter what I attract, I'm going to intentionally choose what I allow into my life. When she does
mm,
this, it changes what you attract, and suddenly a snake doesn't see you as a potential meal. A guy
mm,
doesn't see you as a potential doormat. Okay. Simply because you have that energy out there to go, I'm only going to allow certain things. I'm not going to allow everything. She's putting the
mm,
energy out there. Hey, whatever you have. It's like America in the 1700s. Whatever you have, I'll take. Right? That's no good. But if she remembers that sentence, it doesn't matter what I attract. It only matters what I allow. Then what she attracts will change. It's a funny setup.
that is so true. You know why? Because I was that girl. I was the girl that would allow things. And, from a female's perspective, upon reflection, there's a few reasons why I did that. First of all, being a people pleaser and um, putting feeling like in order for somebody to want me or to love me, I needed to make them first happy. And so if I stood up for myself, that made them uncomfortable, then how would that make them feel, right? And
How did that
obviously
go?
not great because I not great at all. I had terrible, terrible relationships where um they were not great guys, right? And I realized that they sniffed that out. They could smell that on me from a mile away. And it came down to me reflecting and then also becoming super firm with my boundaries and realizing just as if I allowed somebody into my life, I even had a friendship. So let's talk about like platonic relationships. You set boundaries with people in your life, right? And then the people that love you respect those boundaries. And those that don't respect those boundaries really don't deserve a place in your life. So, in fact, through creating those boundaries and sometimes not, well, and most times not allowing people to cross them, you kind of get rid of the ones that don't respect that. Therefore, they don't respect you. Therefore, they're not going to be a good partner. And you're left with the ones that do respect that, the fact that you have boundaries and will absolutely respect what you want and what you don't want in your life. It's kind of a great way of weeding them out, weeding the bad ones out
100%.
anyway.
100%. The thing with boundaries, some people you meet, when you give a boundary, they will see it as controlling. Other people will see, oh, yeah, 100%, common
Mm.
sense. And that's based on compatibility. So your boundary might be, hey, don't go out to a nightclub without me in the middle of the night. Perfectly reasonable boundary. Some people would see that as controlling. That just means you have a lack of compatibility. So find people who you can easily set boundaries with, who have good compatibility, who naturally have the same boundaries anyway. And that's that good compatibility with your ideal partner, which makes everything really easy.
I want to talk about compatibility. I'm so happy you brought that up because we have compatibility and we have chemistry.
Yep.
And I want you to let me know what the definition of those two are and how they're different.
Yeah, for sure. So simplistically, when you meet your ideal partner, you'll have good chemistry. And what that feels like is you want to rip their clothes off and lick their skin, right? You're very attracted to them. Okay. You want to rip it off. Okay. So that had that really strong energy and that compatibility. Can you talk for 4 hours without being bored? Okay. Are you on the same page? Some people you meet, it's so hard just to have a conversation. Yeah. Then other people you meet, you can just talk to them for ages. You're like, it's actually quite enjoyable. Okay. But then there's something else as well, Natasha. So when you meet someone and you have good chemistry, good compatibility, but you also have X factor. Okay. In the dating stage, you're going to meet people who there's good chemistry, good compatibility. They tick all the boxes, but something is missing. It's hard to describe what it is. When you meet your ideal partner, they'll tick most boxes. There'll be good chemistry, good compatibility, but a very strong X factor, which is kind of like fairy dust in the air, kind of a bit of magic, a bit of Disney magic in the air. Hard to describe, but it's your soul saying you should be with this person for some reason.
Mm. Interesting. Oh, it's so complicated, isn't it? Because it can feel almost impossible to get all of those three things when you're trying to find someone. And it's so easy to settle. You might have the chemistry, slight amount of compatibility, but you kind of know within your gut, yeah, it's just not feeling right. But you can ignore that because you think, well, they are ticking some of these boxes. I actually think chemistry can be so alluring and blinding almost to the downfalls of the relationship or where someone does fall short, where you can really see past all of that because of that almost like an adrenaline rush, especially initially when you first start dating someone, like the first 3 to 6 months. If you guys have got amazing chemistry, that can feel like a drug. How and so just on that, let's talk about that because it's really easy, especially if you have a really uh full on connection. I've experienced this before where I've met someone and from that first date, it was like electric. Like it's almost hard to explain, isn't it, when you have that connection with somebody? And I'm not talking about compatibility because we were not compatible, but we definitely had chemistry. And
Yeah.
that was the thing that really carried on that relationship with that person until, time tells and you figure out that you're just not compatible. And looking back on it, it was almost like the chemistry sped up the relationship initially. And so when we are meeting people, it can be really hard to slow things down. And especially if we've got that really strong connection initially. What are your suggestions? Like what should the early stages of dating look like so that you can kind of figure out more about this person and not fall into the trap of speeding things up just because you might have this like really incredible physical attraction, but to actually figure out whether they're the right person for you.
I call this time over time. Okay. So in the first month, I want you to see the person you're dating once a week. That's it. One date a week, that's all you can do. And then you can't see them again for a whole nother week, just for month one. That's
Okay.
going to teach you a lot of things. If you see someone a lot, way more than that, the problem that happens is your emotions go up for the person, but the knowledge stays down here. If you see
Mm.
them less than that, the knowledge goes up fast, but the emotions stay here. What we're looking for is we want to see the knowledge and the emotion for that person go up at the same time, which perfectly works out to about once a week or so.
Okay. And then what happens? That can kind of pick up just making some mental notes here because I'm definitely making mistakes.
It
Um,
keeps you logically on track. So you
yeah.
can see the emotions are going up. You really like that person. You can be chemistry. You can see the chemistry. You can be intimate with each other. But you got to wait a week in between. What's the communication like between the dates? You can logically think about the person, whether they're a good match for your future, and it's not going to be too difficult.
Mm.
Okay. So once a week for the first month, time over time, very, very important.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I actually hate too much communication during the week. I hate it. I hate texting, especially in the initial phases of dating, when someone like constantly wants to communicate with you and talk to you. I mean, I'm a busy person and I kind of feel like it's almost like they should be busy as well. They should have other things on. And also, if you're communicating so much initially all throughout the week, like I want to look forward to seeing somebody. I want to have a slight bit of mystery about them so that when I do see them, that's when we can communicate and get to know each other a lot better. And in fact, I've kind of found that the quicker things move initially, usually the worse the relationship's going to be, or the quicker the relationship is going to end. Would you agree?
It's not so black and white like that. It's based on the person, but as far as the communication is concerned, you want to meet someone who's compatible with you and they can reciprocate the amount of communication that you're comfortable with. So a masculine man or a guy who knows relationships really well will naturally reciprocate your amount of communication. So if you talk a little bit, he'll talk a little bit, and he'll try to match that communication. A guy who's immature, he'll love bomb you, but then also he'll want to communicate way more than you do. Okay. So that you want to find someone who's compatible so you're on the same level of communication. Some people like to talk a lot, some people like to talk a little bit, but you're going to find someone who's reciprocated on you. As far as the speaking is concerned, I have a pretty specific timeline that I like people to follow. If it's too much different than the timeline, it can heighten the chance of failure. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Oh, I've got so many questions coming to mind. I'm trying to figure out which one to start with first. Okay, let's first of all establish what a masculine man is. Now, there is like so much information out there, in particular on TikTok, where you hear about a feminine woman and a masculine man. But what is like, in your opinion, what is the definition of a masculine man, and what traits can we look for as females if we are attracted to men in a potential person that we want to date?
Yeah, 100%. So a masculine man has high integrity. Okay. He's confident, but also humble, not arrogant. And some traits that he's going to embody are leadership, ambition, decisiveness, and protection. Okay. So he embodies those the best he can. He's also mastered his emotions. So he's not a victim to his emotions. His emotions work for him, not the other way around.
Mm, okay. And I guess that's you only figure that out in time? Because I'm thinking people can pretend.
They can pretend to a certain degree, but if a guy is pretending to do all that perfectly, maybe he's just trying to embody it the best he can, which is actually a positive.
Mm,
So
okay.
I want you to enter the dating world with a sense of optimism that people are who they are. So I got a thing on trust that I want you to try to envelop that trust trust people for who they are, trust that you can see people for who they are. Okay. So if you see a snake, trust yourself that you will recognize that it's a snake. Okay. I like to think about trust on a scale of 1 to 10. If you meet a stranger, what level of trust do you think naturally you would give them?
Not a lot.
What out of 10 do you think?
Oh, a stranger? 3?
3? I
Or is that
I'd
bad?
say so. 3 is a level of mistrust. So down to
Uh,
towards the 3 is you think that they're going to cause harm to you.
it depends, doesn't it? Because it depends on like how I'm meeting them, where I'm meeting them. Yeah, I guess like maybe in the middle. Maybe that's a better answer, like a 5. So I'm not going in there suspecting they're wanting to, screw me over, but then also not giving them everything because I don't know who they are. Yeah,
Much better, Andy. Much better, 100%.
tick.
So I naturally want to trust people more than most people do. So I try to trust people just automatically at a 6. And it always works pretty well. Just naturally give them a little bit more than they should have. And it usually works out pretty well. The chance of achieving success if you're optimistic goes up about 400% compared to pessimistic. So a girl on online dating, if she's pessimistic, bitter, cynical,
Mm,
she's not going to achieve a 10 out of 10.
I agree.
Guys, as you said before, they can see it, and a high value guy won't give a negative girl a second of time.
Well, it's and that's understandable. I mean, even if we were to swap positions and genders, no one wants to feel like someone doesn't trust them or they're suspicious of them constantly. There's reasons to like certain behaviors, but what I do see, and I see this as well with friends and girlfriends, they are so suspicious on absolutely every guy. And even when a guy will approach them really in a respectful way, their guard's up straight away. And that's from what I've seen, quite a deterrent and an unattractive actually quality in a female from a
Super
male's
unattractive.
perspective. Yeah, yeah. Um, but I guess it's hard, like you say, going into that with a level of trust. And I think A lot of people build up this resentment over time in the dating world where they've gotten screwed over time and time and time again. And so to them, the enemy is the person trying to screw them over, right? When in fact, what's actually happening is their unresolved issues around their relationships is what's sabotaging the potential of actually finding someone that could be a really good match for them.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we start with a lot of work on that self-sabotaging and leaving the past in the past.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
We gotta they gotta enter that dating stage with a positive type, joyous energy,
mm.
unless they're just gonna wreck everything. Like, so important.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you now about the black. Have you heard about this, the black cat theory and the golden retriever theory? Oh, you have.
Yeah. It's
Okay, so
pretty
it is what? Sorry?
it's pretty funny.
I know. Okay, so I'll give a quick overview of what I understand it to be. And this is all around girls. Okay, so you're either a black cat or you give off black cat energy or you give off golden retriever energy. Black cat is kind of like a little bit aloof, a little bit pulled back, and not mean, but doesn't give kind of everything. Probably what we were talking about earlier, where the golden retriever is kind of like excited, happy. Not that you don't want to be happy, but like maybe gives a little bit too much, gets overexcited too quickly. And the theory is that every single girl should be a black cat because that's what makes a man stick around. Is that correct?
No, the biggest load of shit ever.
No?
No, that's absolutely absurd. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well,
It's fun to think about, but human beings are far more complicated than that. And just throw that one in the bin. It's gonna make girls overthink. It's so dumb.
well, this is the thing, right? So let's talk about playing games because there is so much advice out there. We all hear about men liking the chase and feeling like they've accomplished something. And so there's this rhetoric that women shouldn't give a whole lot of themselves initially, play the game to a degree so that the man feels that they need to pursue the woman, which can then leave girls in their own head of like, okay, well, should I be texting him first or should I be complimenting him? Like it can feel so incredibly confusing. But I feel like there is an element of truth in that if you show a huge amount of interest to somebody initially, then that can sometimes, like, I don't know whether it's a human thing where we just psychologically go, oh, nah, don't really want that. I mean, men, I'm assuming, I would love to hear your opinion on whether men like the chase. And then as a female, what does that mean for us and what should we be doing?
Yeah, for sure. Now, it depends what sort of guy you're looking for. Okay. Natasha, are you looking for a guy who's masculine, a guy who can be a great husband, great father, a guy who's solid, reliable, someone who just all around, just awesome, successful, good member of the community, handsome, all that sort of stuff? Or are you looking for a complete immature moron who lives with his mum and just really stupid, just absolute terrible mindset? Um, which one sounds more appealing?
Well, I like the first one. Sounds pretty good.
The previous guy I described, he doesn't care much for games. Okay.
Mm,
Doesn't care about chasing you. Okay. He wants to find a girl who likes him and he likes her, and then they can be together. That's
yeah.
it. So if you want a guy to chase you and you find a guy who likes the chase, he just simply likes the chase. He doesn't like you.
Mm, mm,
Okay. This is what happens. Okay. You and your ideal partner meet, you both like each other, and then you both be together and you chase each other. And that's it. Now, the only caveat to that is courtship. Courtship means a man courting a woman to raise her romantic feelings. Okay. So what that means is he's not so much chasing her, but he's going to ask her on dates. She's going to say yes. And then it's going to be lovely and they're going to hang out together and have a great time. And that's about it. So don't play too many games. High value guys aren't going to play games with you. Okay.
mm.
A high value guy who's successful and mature and he has a fantastic life already. If you play too many games or you take ages to reply or just you make all these hoops to jump through or go, what the hell? Why would I bother
Yeah.
with this? He'll
Yeah.
just walk away. He won't even give you a chance.
Do you feel like it's more so about giving the same energy that someone's giving back to you. So rather than playing it cool or playing games, it's more just like reading the room and figuring out, like you mentioned, how often are they busy? How often do they message you? Then don't be like bombarded. If they can only message you after work, don't bombard them during the day with messages, and don't panic and feel anxious that you're not hearing from them because they're most
That's right.
probably busy, rather than
That's right.
going, oh, okay, well, I haven't heard from them all day, so I'm not going to text them at night when they text me. When it's like, well, he might actually have a valid reason as to why he's not messaging you constantly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
My quick rule of texting, guys, is you can double text, but never triple text.
Okay, wow. So this is where it gets complicated. Okay, double text, but never triple text. Okay, when can you allow a double text? Like, does there need to be a certain amount of time in between double texting?
No. So
Okay,
you may say selfie and say, I can't wait to kiss you. And then straight after you might say, what's your day? What are you up to today? And that might be your double text, for
right.
example.
Okay,
But text messages have to be light and fluffy. No hard conversations, no boundary setting, nothing too serious. Text messages are for light and fluffiness. Okay. If you want to have hard, serious conversations, you must do that in person so you can really exude that feminine charm, which increases the chance of the hard conversation being successful.
Mm, okay, interesting. I have another question for you. What are your thoughts on dating multiple people at once? I'm not talking about being exclusive with any of these people, but just like in the initial phases, with a few people at the one time.
It's actually a good idea if you do it correctly. So, say, for example, you need to go on 50 high value dates to find your ideal partner. If you only go on one date a month, it's going to take 50 months. It's going to be a long time. But if you can talk to five people at once and go on 5 dates a month, you'll have it in 10 months. So and most people aren't going to make it to the second date anyway. Most dates you go on
Mm,
one date, I don't really like them that much. So it's actually a smart idea. So anyone watching, you don't need to sleep with all 50 people. It's just you're talking to them, seeing if they're a good match and seeing if they're going to make it to the second date. That's also before exclusive, definitely. I find talking about a handful works well.
hmm.
Some girls take it to the extreme and they have Excel spreadsheets and they got all these people. That's a lot.
Full-time
Just,
job.
yeah, just a couple, just a five to keep track.
Okay, because that's something I've recently decided to implement. And it has actually been a game changer for me because it's prevented me from putting all of my eggs in one basket. And that sounds really bad, but getting too obsessed and too emotionally attached to the one guy.
It manages time and expectations and anxiety. It's
100%.
actually
100%. And you definitely do know the ones that you actually see a future with. And you want to then put more energy into that. I haven't ever gotten to the point where I'm dating like two guys that I really equally like. That actually hasn't happened. But what it has done is kept my mind off of that guy. So he's not the only one that I'm thinking about constantly. Because I think, and you'd probably agree with this, but and this might be the same with guys, but with girls, what I see is them romanticizing this idea of this person. They meet them, they think they're incredible. And this is like within the first, let's say couple of weeks or first 4 weeks of dating. And you don't know that person. Like we all show our best initially when we meet people. And so that's all he's doing. And if what we think is, oh my goodness, like he's ticking all of the boxes, this is the guy, then there's a really good chance, as in dating it takes a while to find the right person, is that that person might not be your person. And then you're left disappointed and sad. Where if you can kind of pace yourself and allow someone to show you who they are through just like time, it just takes time. That's helpful. And I feel like being able to distract yourself with other people is helpful.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get stuck into some listener questions now. And I've got some really juicy ones for you. The first one is a very important one, and that is, does the third date rule still apply? I actually didn't know about the third date, but it is rule, but it's basically, when should you have sex with someone for the first time?
Yeah. So this did used to be a rule back when we were little babies, but not so much a rule anymore. When should you do it first? When it feels right. So being intimate with someone's a very emotional type spiritual thing, I would say. So I don't think you should put a time on it. So for example, if you get to the third date and it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If you go on the first date and it feels right, do it. So use your intuition and see how it feels. Now, in saying that, it's quite controversial. I've coached thousands of people. Most of them slept with their ideal partner on the very first date.
No way. I was expecting you to be like, no, like give it at least 5 to 6 days. They've slept with the right person. They've slept with the person that they ended up in a relationship with on the first date.
Forever. They're in a relationship forever. It's a proper 10 out
Ooh,
of 10.
interesting.
Yep.
Do you know what I feel? Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to unpack here. First of all, I think that sexual compatibility is very important in a relationship. And I find that even more so from a male's perspective, like if he's really interested in a girl and they haven't slept together yet, from my experience, it's almost like the thing that seals that for that guy. That, oh, okay, they've ticked that really important box, but without knowing that, they almost hold back a little bit. Is that true? That's been my experience.
100% waiting to sleep with a guy, from what I've seen over the years, the longer you wait to sleep with them, it lowers the chance of achieving a 10 out of 10. It doesn't heighten it.
Really? So what is
Counterintuitive. So a lot of girls think if I wait, the chance to achieving a 10 out of 10 goes up. It actually dramatically goes down. A high value guy will see that you're playing games and he'll just go,
mm,
this is stupid. Why are we making a big deal out of this? And he'll walk away.
I also think that if a guy has bad intentions anyway and he just wants to sleep with you, he'll play the game too. And so you can wait all this time to sleep with someone and then you sleep with them and then you end up figuring out that they weren't really that interested in you anyway. And also, I feel like it takes back the power for females too. Like, ultimately, the way that I look at it is that I sleep with someone when I feel ready to sleep with somebody. Obviously, if they are wanting that as well, but that's a decision that I make. Therefore, if I sleep with someone and then they don't want to pursue anything with me in the future, I still have got the respect for myself to say, do you know what? Doesn't matter. That's what I actually wanted to do. That was my decision, regardless of what the outcome was going to be.
That is the correct mindset to have. That's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. That is very interesting. I was expecting you to be like, no, 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 because there is so much rhetoric and advice given to women to hold off. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
If
Okay.
you want
That's
to sleep
good.
with a guy, do it. If you hold back because you think it'll make him like you more, it will only make him like you less, not more. Okay. And if you're not sexually compatible, we all have certain puzzle pieces. Some puzzle pieces fit, some don't. When you meet your ideal partner, your puzzle pieces will fit like they're made to be together. But more than that, regardless of how long you wait, it's not going to make the puzzle pieces fit or not fit. They're going to fit or not fit anyway.
Yeah. Actually, on that, can you recover from having, say, bad sex? I think you can the first time because it can sometimes be a bit uncomfortable. People can be nervous, whatever. But if it's a consistent thing, can you build sexual compatibility, or do you feel like you've either got it with someone or you don't?
Yeah, it should be pretty amazing straight from the bat. So when you meet your ideal partner, it will be really good to start with, and it will go from really good to incredible. Okay. But it starts at really, really good anyway,
Mm,
even the first time.
okay, that's interesting. That is really good to know because yeah, a conversation I have as well with my girlfriends, and this isn't just necessarily about, well, I guess it is sexual compatibility, and that is attraction. When you have attraction for someone, I'm just thinking of the conversations I've had with girls where it's like, he's so nice, but I just not into him. And it is so frustrating. They can tick like every single box, but you look at them and you're like, you're just not doing it for me. And you hear people go, give it some time, give it some time. Attraction can grow on you. But I agree. I don't think attraction can.
You shouldn't want it to either. Like it should be perfect from the start. Yes, I suppose eventually you can learn to love each other like an arranged marriage, but that's not what we want.
Nah, that's not like, and you need that attraction to pull you through as well, I think, for long-term relationships. Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Let's get into some of these questions. So. We're gonna get them up now. So what's the most common advice that you find yourself giving to women when it comes to dating?
Probably don't get back with your ex.
Oh, yep,
I
yep, yep. There's a reason you broke
say
up.
that more than I like.
Why do you think women do? Is it a comfort thing?
Yeah, it's comfort. It's letting their emotions lead their judgment. It's the guy swearing that they've changed. It's all a bunch of rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah. Leave your ex and don't ever go back. Do never, you to block them completely, eliminate them from your mind. And do you know what I found really helpful for me? I gave myself like 3 months and then I started just casually dating again. And I don't mean like necessarily dating for like, I wasn't looking for someone, but I just wanted to get out there to get to know people, build up my confidence. And what it did,
Helps.
it does help because you realize there's other people out there and actually people that are going to be a better fit for you rather than what you've known. Because it's so much easier just to run back to what feels familiar. Because dating is really scary, but you don't ever want to settle. Ever, ever. All right, next question. How do you know when you are ready to date after a serious long-term relationship?
So you're never going to be 100% ready. Don't wait till you're ready. The general rule is if you're not living with your ex, start dating, even just for fun. You're not going to find your ideal partner straight away. Just go out there, start going on dates, having fun. Going on dates should be really enjoyable. You're having cocktails, you're
Mm,
having nice food. Enjoy yourself. Get out there, start dating.
mm. Okay, good advice. Next one. Should the guy always pay for the first date?
The guy should pay for every date forever, no exceptions.
Good answer. Okay. Controversial because now, like, a lot of women don't like men to pay for stuff because they feel like they owe them or they feel like they can look after themselves, which is, good. I think it's important for women to be financially independent. But I don't know. I'm old school like that as well. And if a guy, I had a guy take me on a date and make me pay. And I was so turned off. Like, it wouldn't matter how good looking he was, how compatible I thought we were, like how long we talked for. That gave me the biggest ick. Like the biggest ick. Ugh.
Yeah.
No, boys gotta pay. And it doesn't need to be anything fancy or over the top. Like it can literally just be a drink. But like, yeah, no.
Medium,
Girls-
I want to see a medium type restaurant or better. The one thing, if you're a girl and you feel a little bit bad about him paying the bill, I want you to remind yourself, what would he rather see after the meal? Would he rather see a beautiful feminine energy, or would he rather you be in your masculine energy and have your $50?
Mm,
I know which one I'd rather. I don't want your $50. I want that beautiful, feminine, joyous, beautiful energy.
mm,
It's
yeah.
worth more than the $50. So forget about the money. The gift you're giving him is that beautiful feminine energy.
Mm, yeah. And I guess like if we can reframe it, it's not that you can't provide for yourself. It's got nothing to do with that. But it's also that aspect of like we should all love doing things for other people as well. Like you love being able to give and you would be able to give in a relationship with a man in other ways and you don't expect anything from them. And then that really should be the mindset and the attitude that men have, I think anyway, towards dating and paying for dates as well.
100%. It's the same as opening the door for her or pulling out the chair.
Yeah,
All shit.
chivalry. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Breadcrumbing. Why do men do it? And I would say women probably breadcrumb too. Why do people breadcrumb?
So some guys out there, they'll be talking to, say, 10 girls at once. And they'll have a bit of a roster lineup and they'll have lots of girls on the bench. They'll just breadcrumb a little bit to each one just so they can maintain a roster. Okay. And they just slowly go through the roster. Don't let yourself be on the sidelines. Okay. If you feel like you're on the bench, get yourself up, excuse yourself from the bench, and go and find someone who's willing to put you in the game properly.
Yeah. It's like when people say if a guy's into you, you will know. If he's not, you'll be confused. And that is so true. It's not
Yeah.
that it's not that complicated. I think that girls do the same thing. I've been guilty of doing that too. I've breadcrumbed heaps because you
It's
think, oh, I just
human,
want some options.
it's human
Absolutely. It's
nature.
human nature.
We do it with friends too.
Yep.
You don't want to lose a friend. You're like, I'm pretty busy as well. It's not you're a bad person. It's just we have priorities. If
Yes.
you're not a priority for someone, you'll know. So if you just go, well, this person's not really that into me, I'm gonna go and see somebody else. Definitely do it.
But what is it about humans though when someone's not really that into us that we want them more? That's the hard bit.
Rejection breeds obsession.
Rejection breeds obsession. That is so good.
So
That
you
is so
feel
true.
particularly, yeah. So it's a sign of immaturity, really. So if you're a really mature type, wise person, if you feel a sense of rejection, you go, "Oh well, no worries, see you later," and you'll be on your way.
Mm,
But sometimes we tie a sense of external validation and confidence to somebody.
mm,
Okay. So we feel rejected by that, then we go, okay, well, maybe if I try harder, then I can succeed instead of just not needing that external validation.
mm. Good advice. All right, this next one. If a man has cheated once during a past relationship, what is the risk that he'll cheat again with you?
It resets. So if a guy's with Sarah and he cheats on Sarah, but then he gets with Natasha, the chance of him cheating on Natasha, it resets down to a normal state again because different relationship, it's a totally different vehicle. If he cheats on you, the chance of him cheating on you again is almost guaranteed. Okay. But if he cheated in a previous relationship, it doesn't mean he's going to cheat on you. Okay. It just maybe that last relationship was really bad and he just it was got really toxic. But the only thing to remember about cheating is cheating doesn't occur in a 10 out of 10 relationship. So if you're a girl and you're a little bit overthinking, thinking if a guy's going to cheat on you, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Don't focus, is he going to cheat on me? Because that's focusing on what you want to avoid. Instead,
Mm,
focus on what you want to achieve and go, I'm going to concentrate on getting this relationship to a 10 out of 10 because then that stuff I don't want, guaranteed won't happen. 10 out of 10 relationships, cheating doesn't occur. So concentrate on getting a relationship to a 10 out of 10 and you never need to worry about cheating.
But if a guy has cheated, let's just say on like a couple of past relationships that you don't think that's a red flag at all.
It is if it's been several, for sure. Like if you meet a guy and he's had 10 relationships and he's cheated in every one, yeah, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. I feel like as you get older, you realize that life isn't as black and white. And there are situations and scenarios where people make decisions that don't necessarily align with their character and actually who they are. And people should be able to learn from those mistakes as well, change, evolve, and be given, like not necessarily a second chance within that relationship. But if you meet someone, you know that they've got a history, our past is not who we are in the present, and we've got this capacity to be able to change and grow. And you want to be able to give people the benefit of the doubt to some capacity, when it comes to that sort of thing. Um,
100%.
okay. What about, oh, this is a good one. What do you think about men who follow a whole bunch of Instagram models or just a whole bunch of girls? I have this debacle at the moment. What's your
Yeah,
advice?
I see that problem a lot. Um, if say he follows 5,000 people, some of those followers will be girls. Some of them probably will be attractive to a certain degree. If he's interacting and flirting with them all a lot, that can be a problem. If he's following some girls, don't overthink it too much. Okay. You should feel comfortable and secure enough in your relationship that if he follows some girls on Instagram, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal if he's talking to them, flirting with them, all that sort of stuff, because that's obviously bad. But just he follows 5,000 people, some are girls. I wouldn't overthink it too much unless it's a very clear sign of disrespect to the relationship.
It's just so hard because you don't know if they're flirting or if they're talking with those girls.
You shouldn't be talking with them at all.
Yeah, but you don't know. You know what I mean? Like if you just meet someone, like for example, I'll give you an example. A guy that I'm going to go on a date with who I've been talking to on Instagram, look at his follower list and it's majority girls. And not like girls that are famous, but girls that are from the same city that are just really attractive. Like
Yeah.
is that a red flag?
Did you meet him on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's using Instagram as a dating thing. So think about it like this: he might not use Tinder, for example. If a guy has Tinder, he may have 1,000 matches with 1,000 girls. He might not have that, and he might just be using Instagram. When you guys go exclusive, it would be polite if he could cull most of that list.
Unfollow. Yeah, yeah, that's true. They don't really owe you anything to begin with, really, do they? And it is true. Like Instagram is almost I definitely would use Instagram more as a dating app than I use the dating apps.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
To be
Some people.
honest. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. Okay.
I say be open to all possibilities as long as you're getting those high value dates. Brilliant.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. And actually, between the talking stage, let's say you meet someone on Instagram, you're talking, or on Hinge, Bumble, wherever, how quickly should you try to meet somebody in person?
1 week.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, because you can completely create a relationship or a false relationship or an idea of someone through
Very bad.
messaging. Yeah. And then you meet them and you're like, they haven't necessarily catfished you, but there is something about someone's vibe and energy where you can
Almost catfished yourself. Yeah. So 2 weeks
yeah.
is the absolute maximum because you
Yeah.
might build them up to such a degree and then inside your mind, but then you meet in person and they smell weird. And you go,
Ew.
not smell weird as in their pheromones.
Oh.
When you meet people, find that their pheromones are very nice. And you know, when you meet someone and you're like, their smell is a bit off. They don't stink, but
Yes. You don't like their
that's
natural scent?
pheromones. Yeah. So your ideal partner, you'd be able to stick your nose in there and be like, oh, that's really good smell.
That is so true. It's so gross, but it is so true. The natural odor of some people you're just so attracted to. And I even feel like this is, oh, I don't know if this is too weird, but I have like, this is a little test I have, and it's called the kissing test. And I feel you can tell a lot from a kiss. The taste of someone can either be repulsive or like delicious. So you're like, "Ugh," like it just tastes yummy.
Yeah.
Or, and the other thing is like you can tell a lot about sexual chemistry, I think, from a kiss as well.
100%. Yeah. If those pheromones are really good, it's going to be fantastic intimacy. Yeah.
Mm. And there's
Usually.
definitely science behind that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So you
Yes.
should very much like their smell and very much you could sniff their neck for an hour straight. You should really enjoy it.
How interesting. Okay, that's good to know. All right. So my last question, because you're being so generous with your time and I really, really appreciate it. The last question was around beliefs and religion and whether you're able to still form a healthy relationship with someone. Let's say if you've got different religious beliefs, maybe not like they've gotten here values. I think that's a clear indication that you're not compatible. But religion's a funny one. What are your thoughts around that?
So I've helped people before create a 10 out of 10 who are Muslim and Christian. You can do it if you're willing to do it. So I also coach a lot of people who are Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or whatever. So it doesn't really bother me what religion someone is. Some people are very strict on their religion and go, I refuse to date anyone say my religion. So they're so rigid that they're not going to anyway. If
Mm.
you're fairly open to it and just go, look, I believe in this, but other people can believe what they want, that's totally okay. If you have that attitude, yeah, you can have a relationship with any religion, 100%.
Yeah, it almost comes down again to like your values and how much of a value your religious beliefs are. And some people can be really fanatical, and certain foundations of their whole value system is based on a particular religion. And if that's the case, you find someone that's, maybe doesn't believe in God or isn't religious at all, or comes from a different religion, then obviously you guys are going to butt heads and it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's you don't want to be that rigid in life either. I
Yeah.
find it's unwise.
Yeah. And it keeps you closed off to people and to learning, and to other people's perspectives as well.
Yeah, it's not overly healthy.
No, no. Well, thank you so much, Jake. It's been such, I've got, honestly, I could sit here and talk to you for ages. I've got so many
You got
questions.
you have really good questions, Natasha. 100%. We should definitely do this again. Your energy, your upbeat,
Oh,
good
thank
question,
you. Thank
really
you.
good.
Thank you. You know why? I'm probably in the midst of it myself. I'm actively dating at the moment. So there's all of these questions, but I've also learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes. Um, but a lot of your answers today have been super helpful and I know would have been very helpful to the listeners. And like I've said, your social media accounts are incredible. You give out so much value. So if girls are wanting to find out more about you, where can we find you?
So if you type in Jake Maddock on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, you'll see me. Just any social media, just type in Jake Maddock, you'll see me. Watch my content, learn stuff. You can ask me questions, you can get a copy of my book, whatever you want. I mean, I'm here to help.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jake. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.